Hello, welcome to Sayler Park's Parent Digital Citizenship course. My name is Jamie Souders. I'm the principal at Sayler Park School. Also, Anna Marie Reinhardt presented this course as well. She is our new curriculum and technology integration coach from Forward Edge. You can follow us both on Twitter. You can follow me at Souders_Jamie. You can follow Miss Reinhardt at Mrs. Reinhardt1, or you can follow the school at Sayler Park Jags. The next slide that's going to pop up is actually a video that discusses the importance of programs like the Verizon Innovative Learning Schools program. For the sake of time, am not going to show the video. It lasts about an hour. However, if you'd like it, you can click on the video and it'll pop up in YouTube. This is a graphic from the Verizon Innovative Learning Schools program. This graphic is from 2017 and shows the number of participating schools, students, teachers, and the percentage of students who were eligible to receive free and reduced cost lunch. The new stats for the year of 2019, which is adding the last 2 years, there are now 152 schools participating, 110,704 students, 9,102 teachers. As you can see, the program has grown by more than double in the last 2 years. We are super excited to be part of the 6th cohort, so year 6 of the Verizon Innovative Learning Schools program. Now we have a bit of a pop quiz for you. How many hours per week does the average American child between the ages of 8 and 18 spend with media and technology? The correct answer is C, 53 hours. When you think about that, that is a full-time job plus overtime. Kids 8 to 12 spend an average of 6 hours per day with media and technology, and teenagers 13 to 18 spend an average of 9 hours per day with technology. What percent of teens see social media as an integral part of their daily use? This answer was kind of surprising for me. I thought it would be higher, but the correct answer is A, 45%. However, of that 45%, only 36% say that they enjoy using social media a lot, and 73% say they enjoy listening to music a lot, which I can attest to. Many of our kids enjoy listening to music, and 45% say they enjoy watching TV. However, if you see at the bottom of the screen, this is from 2015. I think the data in the last 4 years has probably changed. That 45% watching TV has probably gone down because most teenagers today watch very little TV. They watch mostly streaming on their phones or on a device that they have. Next question. Of the 20 million minors who actively use Facebook in 2011, how many were younger than 13? This answer kind of scared me when I first saw the data. 8 million. So the answer is D. 8 million minors actively using Facebook in 2011 were under the age of 13. The really scary part is that 5 million of them were under the age of 10. Most kids explained that their parents helped them create their accounts and then walked away and never monitored their use. We did want to see if you knew what some of the popular apps were. If you take a look at these apps, some of them are no longer viable, but the ones you really need to be conscious about are in the top row, the second and third one, the yellow square with what looks like the white ghost. That's the Snapchat app. And the one right next to it looks like a brown and tan camera. That is the Instagram app. Many of our kids are on both of those. If you look in the second row, the second app, Kick, that's a chat app or a messaging app that a lot of our younger kids use. And if you go 2 from the right in the second row, that's the Twitter app. Not a whole lot of our students use it, but it's still a pretty popular app out there. Just wanted to make sure you kind of had an idea of what some of these apps were. So some of the issues when we're talking about media and technology and digital citizenship. One of them is screen time. We know students spend a lot of their waking hours with digital media, and we just noted as much as 9 hours per day, some of them even more. This includes media use outside of school, does not include texting or talking on their cell phone. So when you think of it, that's a lot of time. So screen time is a pretty major concern. Another concern with digital media and creating a digital footprint is privacy. Privacy can be a challenge in the digital world where students are encouraged to share and communicate. For instance, 41% of kids age 8 to 17 say they leave their Facebook privacy settings on default, which are the lowest privacy settings. And we know that students often don't think before they self-reveal online. Another issue is their digital footprint and reputation. Believe it or not, every single student in our building, with the exception of maybe preschoolers and kindergartners, already have a digital footprint. That means they've done things online, posted online, or searched online, and maybe even used their name in online software or social media or different apps. Students are leaving digital footprints that can have a major impact on their lives. For example, 35% of college admissions officers discovered something about an applicant that negatively impacted their application. What kids post, share, and say online can help or it can hurt them. One of our goals with the Verizon Innovative Learning Schools program is to set students up for success by helping them create a positive digital footprint. Obviously, one of the other major concerns, issue number 4, is cyberbullying. Bullying that happens on the playground or in the hallway is magnified in digital spaces. 1 in 3 10 to 18-year-olds have reported being cyberbullied, and only 1 in 10 tell an adult when it happens. One of the things with cyberbullying and bullying in general, I know a lot of people say how much worse bullying is today. I really don't think it's necessarily worse, but the difference is because students are on digital spaces as well, they can never escape the bullying. Students might get bullied at school as maybe we were as parents when we were younger. When we left school, we got away from the bullying for 12, 14, 16 hours until at the earliest the next day. Our students don't get away from the bullying anymore. If they're on social media and they're in these digital spaces, these digital worlds, the bullying can happen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that is a major issue and a concern. It is for us, and we know it is for you as well. Some of the privacy and security issues that happen. We always worry about malware, which is simply a big word for viruses. Games, believe it or not, have privacy and security issues because many games that our students play have chat features where students share personal information with people they're playing the game with. Some people they know, some people they don't. Software can have privacy and security issues. Chain letters, if it's too good to be true, and phishing scams. Those bottom 3 are all ways in which some people try to gather information about others so they can steal identities and that sort of thing. So all of these are things to be concerned about when we're talking about kids being in the digital environment. Digital footprint and reputation is something we're going to talk a little bit more about because it is super important. Number 1, it is unbelievably easy to create. As I stated earlier, we all have a digital footprint already, including most of our students. That means they've been online, they've searched online, they may even communicated with people and businesses online. That means they have a digital footprint. The reason it's so easy to create is the parameters of a digital footprint differ on different platforms. So as I mentioned earlier, with the settings staying on default on Facebook, that means that not only the friends of people on Facebook see all of their information, friends of friends can see it, employers can go and see it, and the government can also go in and see all that information. One thing I want to iterate and reiterate multiple times. Once something is posted or placed on the internet, it never goes away. Sometimes students post things that they think, oh, I can just delete that account, delete that photo, delete that comment, and no one will ever see it. Well, they might think that's true, but actually, once it's posted, it can be found if people really want to find it. One of the ways you can take a look at that is go to the Internet Archive, and there's a site called the Wayback Machine, which actually can show you how things that you thought might not exist are still there. And the other way to check and see what your digital footprint is, if you go to Google and you Google your own name, the sites that pop up first are the things that are searched the most. That's the way Google works. So you'll see either the most recent or the most common thing about yourself will be the first thing that appears. So we always want to be concerned about creating a digital footprint and reputation. We have them. Our goal with this program is to help students create them in a positive way to set themselves up for success later on. Here in a minute, I'm going to show negative digital footprints and how they can harm folks. So these are two young people getting ready. They were getting ready to enter college. And unfortunately, they were two people who had some negative things on the internet that came back to hurt them in the long run. Stacy Snyder was 24 years old, and she found out kind of the hard way. Her teaching career was derailed when her college admission was denied after the admissions board viewed her MySpace. Yeah, it's that old. MySpace was the Facebook before Facebook. Photo where it shows her wearing a pirate hat and drinking from a plastic cup. The caption under it, you can see it reads, "Drunken Pirate." The college administrators accused her of promoting underage drinking by posting the picture, and they pulled her college admission. The second picture there is a more recent case. This young man is actually one of the Parkland shooting survivors from the Parkland shooting in Florida. In March, Kyle Kashev got the news he'd been waiting for. He had been admitted to Harvard University. Parkland shooting survivor, who had become a conservative rising star, had spent his senior year as a school safety and gun rights activist, traveling the country as a high school outreach director for the right-wing group Turning Point USA. He had planned to take a gap year before enrolling in the fall of 2020, but today Kashev tweeted that Harvard had rescinded its offer in an apparent response to racist messages he had written years earlier. When he was only 15 years old, he and some friends opened up a Google Doc and were just chatting back and forth on Google Docs. I will tell you that our students do try to do this sometimes, but what they don't know is we have a program when they're on our network here at school. It tells me if they're doing things they're not supposed to or saying things they're not supposed to on Google Docs. So I get an email. Sometimes I have to call them in and have conversations about the appropriate use of academics in our school. But in this Google Doc, he actually used the N-word when he was 15 years old. Somehow Harvard got screenshots of that Google Doc and saw the pictures, and because of the statement he made at 15, they pulled his offer to attend Harvard. So that's why we find it extremely important to teach our kids how to use these programs in this digital environment in a positive way to set themselves up for success. So we talked a little bit earlier about some cyberbullying, and we mentioned some of these already. Number one, cyberbullying, now it's 24 hours a day. The audience is often wider than it has ever been before because, as we mentioned, with settings in certain apps, there's more people who see the bullying than what would have back when we were in school when it was just happening during the school day. There's also an unintended audience. I told a story in the live classes that we presented. I got a call last year from a friend of mine whose students go to Three Rivers Taylor High School or Taylor Middle School, and she said, you might want to check with some of your Sayler Park students. There's a big issue going on over here. We've had about 5 to 10 kids suspended today for some cyberbullying, and I know there are a couple Sayler Park kids who were in the chat where this was happening. So you might want to check on them. So I did some digging and found out which kids were in the chat. Fortunately enough, our kids did not say anything negative. They weren't part of the bullying. They just happened to be in a chat with a bunch of other kids from around the area, mostly Three Rivers, a few of our Sayler Park kids. And then I found out it actually went as wide as Oak Hills and even up to Western Hills High School as well. So when we're talking about a wider and unintended audience, there were a lot of kids in this chat that our students had no idea were in there and that were seeing this cyberbullying take place. I mentioned earlier, gaming is a place where a lot of cyberbullying can happen because of the chat rooms that take place in the games themselves. And then finally, one of the things that we worry about is embarrassing information getting out. We send pictures or we send comments to someone who's a friend. Maybe we have a falling out with that friend and now they share some of that embarrassing information with others. So these are just some stats about where people were cyberbullied the most. If you look at this stat, it says Instagram was 42%, Facebook is 37%, and Snapchat is 31%. I have a feeling that for our young people, Snapchat and Instagram are probably a little bit higher than Facebook because most of our kids use Snapchat and Instagram more. So how do we respond to a cyberbully? It's really no different than responding to a bully normally. One, leave the chat, leave the app, leave the conversation. If you're being bullied, don't stay a part of it. The great thing about social media is you can block folks when they're doing things you don't like. You don't have to stay friends with them. You don't have to continue to see the harassment or the bullying that they're doing. One thing I tell parents and students all the time, save and print everything. One of the hardest things as a principal to do is I have someone tell me they were cyberbullied uh, on Snapchat or Instagram, and they show me screenshots of what the other person said, but I can't see both sides. So it makes it really hard to do an investigation to truly know what was said by both parties to actually be able to give out a good consequence. So if you can save and print or screenshot the entire conversation, that makes the job of handling and dealing with cyberbullies much easier on those of us that have to do that. One thing that I know is extremely difficult, never reply to someone who's bullying you online. Because when you reply, if you start saying negative things about them, now you're both doing things that are not okay. Talk to someone, talk to a friend, talk to a family member, report it to a trusted adult who can then report it to me or the school, and we can handle it as quickly and as efficiently as possible. This next slide is simply kind of the consequences of kids misuse our technology here at school. This is really no change from what we've done in the past. We didn't change this because of the Verizon program. Typically, first offense is a behavior referral. I contact the parents. And this year, I will say one addition is we're going to add an internet safety detention. And the student attends that, and the device, they get to keep the device. Second offense is the exact same thing. Third offense, now we're going to call the parent in for a face-to-face meeting with the student and me, the principal, and the student is going to lose the device for 5 days. Fourth offense, kind of the same thing with a meeting, but they lose the device for 10 days. If they get to a fifth offense and they violate our internet safety policies, then they're going to indefinitely lose this tablet, lose their device. They will still have access to devices at school as needed for schoolwork, but they won't be able to take them home. I can tell you in the 5 years here at Sayler Park School, I've only gotten to the third offense maybe 2 or 3 times. Our kids take care of the technology and operate appropriately most of the time. Now, I know what many of you are thinking. You're thinking, based on the information I just gave you, why in the world would we want to give kids another device? I just want to let you know I front-loaded this presentation with all the negatives. And a lot of the good part about it is our kids cannot do most of that stuff with our school devices. They can't get on social media. They can only watch certain videos. So some of the cyberbullying and those things aren't going to happen with our Verizon iPads. So that's the good part. But my philosophy is pretty simple. Why would we give kids another device? Really simple answer. They can't learn to swim if we don't let them in the water. We can tell students how to use social media and how to use the digital environment for success, but if we don't let them in and we don't show them and teach them how to use it, they're never going to learn. That's my philosophy with anything in life. We have to give them access. Yes, they'll make some mistakes, and that's okay because we learn from our mistakes. So my belief is you let them in there. We teach the students not only to be consumers of digital content, which is what they're mostly doing now. We want them to be creators of digital content. We want them to be influencers in the world. They can teach other students, maybe who don't go to CPS schools, maybe who don't go to Sayler Park School, they can teach them how to be digital leaders. And maybe we can blow this thing up from the digital environment maybe being a negative thing for kids to being an extremely positive thing that sets them up for success, for jobs and college and their futures. So I get it. We've scared you. We've talked about all the negative things that can happen. Now, what can we do and what can you do to help out? One of the first things is you need to know exactly how much a gigabyte of data is. I will tell you, we originally put this slide on because when we were awarded the grant, they were giving students 5 gigabytes per month of data. However, that has actually been raised by Verizon. They now give us 10 gigabytes per month. But I still want you to understand how much a gigabyte of data is. That's just a big term. We really don't know what it is. If you look on the right side of this graphic, you'll see that 1 hour of Netflix, so if a student watches one episode of a TV show they like on Netflix, they're spending about 3 gigabytes of data if they're not attached to a Wi-Fi hotspot. 1 hour of YouTube, so they watch their favorite YouTube show for an hour, that's 1.5 gigabytes. And then 1 hour of Spotify or Pandora or any other music streaming program, that's about 1 gigabyte. So you can see kids could pretty quickly burn up their data if they're doing these things. That's not the primary goal for these devices. It's not for music or YouTube or Netflix. It's for them to be able to access their academics at home as well as at school. So one thing I want to get very clear right off the bat, and I know sometimes people worry about this because they think the school's giving my kid an iPad, so I can't discipline my kid with this iPad or keep them off this iPad if they're not following my expectations. That is absolutely incorrect. We are not taking away your responsibility or your expectations or your rights as a parent. You are the parent. It is your right to discipline your students as you see fit. If they're not following your expectations and you want to take the iPad away from them at home, you can take it away from them at home. If you don't want to be the one to take it away from them, give me a call and I will take it away from them if they're not acting right. You also have every right to use this iPad because part of the Verizon program is to give families access. For those of you that don't have your own Wi-Fi at home, you can use these iPads to do some of your things that you need to do to be connected. This world is not becoming any less digital. It's only getting more digital. So the more we can do to help students and families connect and stay connected, the better off our students and families are going to be. You have every right to go into every single app on these iPads to see what your child is doing. If your child won't give you the passwords, call me and I will give you the passwords so you can see what they're doing. Your students have responsibilities for you at home and for us here at school. If they're not following those responsibilities, they don't need the iPad. The iPad is a privilege. It is not a right. If they can't take care of their business, then they're going to have to earn that iPad. And then ultimately, one of the things we always say is we have to love and trust them. Yes, they're going to make mistakes. I know it. You know it as their parents. We have to trust them that they're mistakes. We teach them, help them learn from those mistakes, and then they can improve and get better at moving forward. Another way to help is engage the whole family. Talk to your children, children talk to your parents. We need to validate each other so we The kids understand where the parent's coming from, the parent can understand where the kid's coming from, and we need to draft rules together. Parents, if you're not sure where to start for rules with this iPad at home, start with our school rules. I sent those out digitally on our Facebook page on Class Dojo earlier this year. I'll send them out again here shortly, um, so you can have access to those. But start with the school rules if you don't know what other rules to create on your own. One rule I will suggest, and I've suggested this in every class that we've been in, do not allow your students to take these iPads to their bedrooms when it's bedtime. Have them charge them in a common area in the house. That way you know they're not staying up late on their iPads when they're not supposed to. Also, I do want to reiterate to parents and students, it is the student's responsibility to bring this iPad to school every single day, fully charged, so they're ready to do the work of the day. And parents, one other way you can help is model appropriate digital media behavior. If you show students that you're doing it the right way, they'll learn from you, and they will do it the right way also. Finally, some people call me overprotective. I'm a parent. I have 2 kids in high school. They're both CPS students. They go to Walnut Hills High School, and I use one of these programs right here to protect my child's phone so I know what's going on with them. I tell them very simply, if I'm paying the bill, I get to see what's going on in your phone. So I actually use the bottom one. It's an app called Bark that I have on their phones. And the thing I like about Bark is it is an artificial intelligence app that it doesn't just search for words that might sound negative or words that might be concerning. It actually uses artificial intelligence and searches patterns and of things that students say or kids say, and it can alert you if kids are becoming depressed or withdrawn, or if cyberbullying is going on. It can alert you to those things. So that's one way I try to keep my students protected. I've also heard good things about Life 365 as an app. The other 3 we know are still active and you can use them. You can't use these on the iPad because the great thing about our iPads, students cannot download apps to them. Heck, I can't even download an app to them. If I want an app on them, I have to call our ITM department for the district, get it approved, and then they'll download them to all of the iPads. So that's one less worry that you have. Kids can't download social media. The only thing that I'll be 100% upfront and honest, technology moves really fast and new content is created so quickly. The one app that students could possibly very, very rarely see something that they shouldn't see might be YouTube. I will tell you honestly that I think in my 5 years, I've had maybe 4 times where kids have seen a video or seen something they shouldn't see on YouTube, and it just somehow slipped through our firewalls. The good news about these iPads, even when they're using their data or home Wi-Fi, they will still be going through our district's firewalls. So things that are inappropriate for kids, they will not be able to see in most cases. If something slips through, please don't hesitate to give me a call, and then I'll get it blocked right away. But they are always going through the district servers, the district firewalls to try to keep them as protected as we possibly can. And then one other thing I wanted to mention, if you do have Wi-Fi at home, make sure they connect to the Wi-Fi and don't just use data. Data is really reserved for when they don't have access to Wi-Fi. So if you're traveling or if you don't have Wi-Fi at your house and they have some homework to do or some makeup work to do or they want to work more on their project, then they use their data for that. That's what it's for. All right, so some people have asked, why do we want to be a Verizon Innovative Learning School? Well, there's a couple of reasons. And this first slide is actually going to show you some resources. I will make sure that you have access to these sites. I'll post those separately, but you can see them here as well. Those are resources for parents that that can help you with digital citizenship and keeping kids safe online. If you want to visit any of them, feel free to. But here is the real reason why we joined the Verizon Innovative Learning Schools program. Their goals are really coincide with our goals quite a bit. And it kind of coincides with our Vision 2020 program. We thought these two would merge and marry with each other extremely well. and it would help our kids continue to get better and to be able to do different things. So number one, increase in achievement, increase engagement, and increase STEAM interest and STEM proficiency. But if you look at that second row of red boxes, those are the big ones for us, which is why we went to our project-based learning in the community. We want students to increase their problem-solving skills, their collaboration skills, their communication skills, and their confidence. Having these tablets and having this access at home is hugely, hugely important, and we think it will help kids grow in those areas. One thing I didn't mention earlier, which I probably should have, is this grant is approximately about a $2.5 million grant. So they pay for iPads with 10 gigabytes of data for all students in grades 5 through 8. It pays for a full-time technology integration coach. That's Anna Marie Reinhardt. It pays for the bags that we give kids, the Verizon Innovative Learning Schools bags. So it's a pretty healthy grant that they're giving us. The biggest reason that I wanted to join this program is because last year during our PBL showcase in the spring, I went around and I heard many students do some outstanding projects. They were really in depth. They had some great ideas and some great vision. And after I listened to them, I would ask the students, do you have access at home to be able to do some of this project, or did you have to do it all at school? And actually about 60% of the kids that I talked to said they don't have access at home, that their entire project was done at school because it's the only place they could do it. So then I followed up with those students and asked them, did you have other things you wanted to add to your project but you couldn't because you ran out of time since you could only do it at school? Every single student or group that I talked to had much bigger and broader ideas that they wanted to do, but they just couldn't because they didn't have access away from school. They didn't have time. So this program provides equitable access for all students, but it's also going to allow our students to dive deeper into the content that they're learning, into the projects that they're creating. And that's going to increase their learning, increase their confidence, and it's going to truly help them become the influencers and the content creators rather than just consumers. So this is a graphic from the International Society of Technology and Education, ISTE for short. And this is what we want to see from our students when they leave us. We want them to be empowered. We want them to be high-quality digital citizens. Actually, we want to call them digital leaders. Knowledge constructors. Again, they're the creators, not the consumers. We want them to be very innovative designers, computational thinkers, creative communicators, and global collaborators. The great thing about this is we're trying to prepare them for jobs that don't even exist today, and they will need to know these things in order to excel in the digital age. And ultimately, this is our goal, and it can be summed up with our school's vision statement: ignite creativity, unleash potential, and inspire greatness. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get a hold of me. You can call me at school, you can email me, you can contact me on Dojo. There are many ways to get a hold of us, so please don't hesitate if you have any questions. So next up, you're going to have to confirm that you watched this PDC class. So you can click on the following link. It'll take you to a Google form for a quick review. 4 questions, just have to enter your name, your student's grade, answer a few questions, make sure that you were here for the class, and then finally submit your paperwork. Once you do all that, your student will then be able to get their iPad to bring home. I really appreciate you joining me for the class. Hopefully this was a way for the rest of us to be able to take the class so your students can all get the iPads. Thank you very much. Have a great night. And as always, go Jags.